She said she was just helping the neighbor, but I followed her and found the truth. I used to believe that when a person says, "I'm just tired," it actually means they're tired. That was before I watched my wife come home with someone else's cologne on her skin. Brooke and I were married for almost 5 years. I'm not the loud type. I work in IT, mostly from home, and I like my world quiet. A little order, a little coffee, a few hours with my laptop, and I'm fine. She was the opposite. Always on the move, always talking, always surrounded by people. She taught group fitness classes and had this energy that filled every room before she even stepped in. I admired it honestly. She brought light into my quiet, and I thought we were some perfect version of opposites attract. But lately, that light started flickering. It began with small things. Her schedule got unpredictable. She started taking evening classes at the gym, then weekends, then private clients she didn't want to talk about. At first, I didn't question it. She was ambitious, driven, always wanted to grow her fitness brand. But then there were the bank statements. Charges from restaurants I'd never heard of. Hotel bars. Gas stations in neighborhoods far from her gym. Still, I didn't want to seem paranoid. You know when your gut starts screaming at you, but your heart is too afraid to listen? That was me. The breaking point wasn't dramatic. No lipstick on the collar. No random text. It was the way she smiled when our newly divorced neighbor, Caleb, came by to borrow tools. It wasn't the smile itself. It was the way she looked away afterward, like she knew she'd smiled too long. I started watching. Quietly. No accusations, no confrontation. I moved an old phone into the hallway bookshelf. Hit record. Just to ease my mind. The next day, while she was training a client at 8 p.m., I checked the footage. And my heart dropped. Because at 7:41, Caleb walked in through our side door like he'd done it 100 times. And he didn't leave for hours. That night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling and realized that everything I thought was solid in my life was already cracking. And the worst part? She acted like nothing happened, kissed me goodbye the next morning, laughed when I offered to cook dinner, asked me how my day went. That's when I knew. She didn't just lie to me. She believed I was too soft, too blind, too safe to ever do something about it. She was wrong. The next week, I didn't say a word. I kissed her like always, made coffee, complimented her new leggings. But I was planning everything. I started documenting. I backed up the footage to multiple cloud accounts, printed the bank records, took screenshots of every suspicious transaction. I even created a private folder labeled Insurance and shared it with my best friend, just in case anything ever happened to the files. And then I did something that changed everything. I called a lawyer. Quietly. See, the house was mine before the marriage. Fully paid off by inheritance. But the longer she stayed married to me, the more claims she could make to it. If I filed while pretending everything was normal, I could freeze her out before she even realized what hit her. So I played the game. Meanwhile, her lies got bolder. Caleb's car would sometimes be parked a block away, like that made a difference. She'd come home with her hair wet, but it hadn't rained. I started leaving little clues, like casually asking, "Did Caleb get his garage fixed?" when she hadn't mentioned him. She froze for half a second, then laughed it off. She thought I was stupid. That gave me strength. The night before I filed, I made dinner. Steak, her favorite. We drank wine, talked about vacations. She even flirted, thinking I was finally relaxing. But in my head, I was counting down the hours until the lawyer would file the paperwork and have her served, at the gym, where all her clients could see. Where she'd be humiliated, blindsided, and exposed. She thought she was in control. She thought Caleb was her little secret. She didn't realize she was the one being watched. When the papers were served the next day, right in the middle of her 6 p.m. fitness boot camp, I was watching from my car across the parking lot. She saw the man approach with the envelope and smiled, probably thinking he was handing her some kind of promotion or gym sponsorship. But the second she saw the legal header and my name printed across the top, The color drained from her face. I saw her knees wobble. She tried to laugh it off in front of her clients, but everyone saw it. Some of them started whispering. One woman actually filmed her reaction. Within an hour, I saw it on Facebook. I didn't go home that night. I'd already moved most of my valuables and personal items to a storage unit. I stayed with a friend while the locks were changed. Brooke tried calling 23 times that night. I didn't answer, not once. The next morning, she showed up at the lawyer's office screaming. Said I had no right to blindsiding her like this, that she deserved a conversation, that I was throwing everything away. The lawyer calmly reminded her that cheating voids most of her leverage, especially since I had proof that was time-stamped, geotagged, cross-referenced with her bank statements, and even with a few security camera angles from local gas stations. I didn't just catch her. I built a case. Legally, she was entitled to none of the house, none of the savings, and none of the inheritance. And Caleb? The moment the drama started, he ghosted her, blocked her on everything. Turns out he didn't want to play house with someone who had nothing left to offer. I heard from mutual friends that she tried to spin it as if I'd been controlling, emotionally distant, cold. But people knew me. And worse for her, the internet never forgets. The gym fired her 3 days later for conduct unbecoming. Clients dropped off fast after seeing the video. Everything she built on lies crumbled. And I never raised my voice. I never slammed a door. I just let the truth do the damage. Weeks passed. I started sleeping again. Started eating better. Even got a dog, something Brooke always said she was too busy for. But the peace didn't last long. She showed up at my doorstep one night, hair messy, mascara running, asking to talk. She said she'd made a mistake, that Caleb meant nothing, that she was just lost, that I had been the best thing in her life, and she didn't realize it until it was too late. I let her talk. Then I handed her an envelope. Inside was a printed screenshot of her entering our home with Caleb. Right underneath it was my signed response to finalize the divorce. No emotion, no drama, just a final, clean goodbye. She cried on the porch for an hour. I closed the door and never looked back. I don't tell this story for pity, or even for revenge. I tell it because sometimes silence is the sharpest weapon. Sometimes you don't need to fight fire with fire. You just need to stop watering dead plants and walk away from the ashes. Because the moment you stop begging for the truth and start acting like you deserve better, that's when everything changes.